Oh, okay.
Not agree to that stuff.
I get it. This is what I do. We're all trying to learn how to use MailChimp. Again, I haven't used MailChimp in so long, it's changed.
I feel like Dara should read this. I'm like, what happened again? I missed. Okay. I'll be good.
You want to ask?
Steve's here.
Here you are.
You made it,
I'll
Steve.
do more reading
I was
there.
trying to figure out where he is this morning.
Where's
The only people that don't play musical chairs are the three of us.
Yeah.
It plays around with everybody else except for the three of us.
Yeah, but we're in
We're
the
not starting that.
executive.
We're still.
We're still in our
We're still in
executive.
the
Oh,
workshop.
yeah.
Don't worry. I'm just waiting for audio visual to tell me that there's. You ready? Okay, thanks everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry.
Thank you for joining us. The next item on the agenda, there were no decisions made in executive session, no votes taken. The next item is Finance and Facilities Committee report, and we just have our chair, Mr. Caswell, join us.
Yes. All right, oh, so we're ready for me. All right, I need glasses, sorry. All right, so we had our committee meeting on October 16th, and we started off by receiving a couple of presentations, going through the Learning Commons. Bonnie Gallagher gave us a presentation on the Learning Commons. She reviewed the Learning Commons, what it is, the strengths and staffing, positives of a centralized learning resources, and the desire to have dynamic and engaging environment for discovery, exploration, and learning. So should be a good opportunity here for us. And then Donna Rocap gave the committee an update on the college's revenue and expenses through August 31st. We had several informational updates. Dutchess County legislature meetings that are coming up where the college is going to attend and provide presentations and information to the legislature. Chamber of Commerce breakfast is coming up on November 15th, and we all know the speaker that will be there this month, and he gave us an update on that. The parking lot stairs on Lot A, Adam Rathburn provided a committee an update regarding the needed repairs and the newly installed stairs leading to and from the parking lot, and all repairs were completed and the stairs are open again for use. And then we had a payroll error that Adam Rathburn provided the committee with an update on the error and how that was going to be corrected and communicated. And they'll work on it, make sure that we have a solution in place to avoid recurrence of this issue in the future. And then finally, the committee agreed that we will have our normal November meeting, okay, which would be the meeting in advance of our next full board meeting, and that we would skip our December meeting since that would be after the board meeting. So it made sense to discontinue that, and then we'll have a January meeting before the next board meeting. So that all seemed to work. And then there is one resolution regarding the DEHIC trust agreement that I'll read in at the board meeting.
Anybody have any questions of Steve? Adam, do you want to do a quick run through of the, thank you? And thank you, Steve. Good timing.
Sorry.
So this is the year-end report. Basically, it's for August 31st of 2023. I'm really just going to cover this first page here as the notes, because the last 4 pages are kind of an outline of what I'm going to go over real quick, and then the second page, which is the budget versus actual, just goes into a little bit more detail on what this first page is here. So overall, we're projected to end the year with an add to the fund balance of about $1.4 million. If you recall, our budget was slated to use roughly a little over $300,000 for the budget, so this is positive news. The fund balance is projected to be about a little over $19.3 million, which is 34% of our operating costs. The SUNY guideline is anywhere between 5 and 15% of operating costs, so we are well above that. However, as of August 22nd, 25 of the 30 community colleges are over 15%, and 14 are over 32%. So we are not outside the norm of having a high fund balance. And this is mostly the result of COVID and HERF funding that the colleges have received over the past several years. So for the revenue side of things, overall revenue was down just over $1 million on the tuition side. I'm sorry, overall little over $1 million. Student revenues were down about $1.4 million, and that's just due to enrollments were down, but also we did not charge for concurrent enrollment as was budgeted in the budget of $500,000. The local share was up about $27,000. That includes the county contribution, chargeback rates, and non-resident tuition. State aid revenue was on target, and the offset revenue was up about $308,000, primarily due to interest income received. We budgeted about $100,000, but actuals were about $512,000 revenue received from that. Course fees were down about $285,000. That's primarily due to no AMT cohort in the spring. On the expenditure side, we were about $2.78 million under budget. Personnel budget was under by about $635K. It would have been higher, but if you recall, we did have to do the catch-up payments back in the last fall for the contract ratification, so that took away some of the salary savings we had from vacant positions. Under the benefits line, we had a savings about $1.76 million. Most of this is due to vacant positions. We also had a holiday premium amount of $450,000 from DHIC, our health insurance carrier. And then employment benefits, we saw a savings about $225,000. The equipment budget, this was over by about $378,000. It only had a $100,000 budget, but we did have some large computer purchases. One of them was a $250,000 board-approved resolution to use fund balance to purchase computers, which we did. We also went over the $100,000 budget because we did purchase additional computers with that money as well. And then on the contractual side, we were about $760,000 in savings from various lines. A lot of that is in the second page on this. You can it's a breakout of those contractual obligations. A lot of it was due to maintenance contracts we either put on hold or we did renegotiate rates to lower them, so there were savings in that. And so that just wraps it up. So if you see here, total expenditures were down about $2.8 million. But then the revenue side down about $1 million, so overall we have about a $1.4 million add to the fund balance for this fiscal year. I'm not going to run through the rest of these pages. It's well, if you just click to the next page real quick. This one just goes into a little bit more detail on the personnel, on the expense side of things. So the personnel, the fringe benefits, and then the contractual expenses. You can see there's some breakout there of the contractual expenses in a little bit more detail. So the rest of the report is basically what I just ran through, just in much higher level detail. So are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Adam.
No? Thank you.
And congratulations for running a tight ship. Next item on the agenda is our presentation on the Learning Center, Learning Commons. Bonnie, how you are?
Hi everyone. Thank you very much to the board and to Dr. Jordan for inviting me to share some information with you about our Learning Commons. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bonnie Gallagher, Associate Dean for Instruction and Learning for the Learning Commons. So before we move into some of the deep development of our Learning Commons over the past year.
Bonnie, we can't hear you very well over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it showing up for those who are listening at home?
Pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Raise the microphone.
Yeah.
Can you move this? Can you move the microphone? Does she have a clicker? Can someone click them?
Well, she can take one of ours. Oh, these can't look?
Yeah.
Isn't there one right on this side of the screen? Maybe it's not working. Sorry, Bonnie. Thank
No,
you.
no, it's fine.
Sorry.
Is that microphone working?
It went back.
It's not connected. Oh.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you, thank you.
All right, so before we move into the details of the development of our Learning Commons over the past year, I did want to briefly talk about what a Learning Commons is. A Learning Commons should be a dynamic and engaging learning space that blends academic support, library resources, and technology to facilitate active learning and student success. A successful Learning Commons will promote an appreciation for curiosity, discovery, exploration, innovation, and growth. It will be a place that truly embodies our slogan, where community meets opportunity. So why this model? The Learning Commons model aligns with the work of our campus, specifically the Guided Pathways Initiative. This national framework is designed to increase student success for all students. While all 4 pillars are important, the Learning Commons is crucial for pillars 3 and 4, staying on the path and ensuring learning. Students stay on their path through the use of academic resources and programming, and we ensure that students are learning by creating a space where they can deeply engage with learning materials, with other students, and with faculty. So who is part of our Learning Commons? The Learning Commons includes a variety of areas, from tutoring spaces in the library to accommodations, testing, and opportunity programs like C-STEP. In addition to those areas, there are 4 faculty-led programs that are also part of the Learning Commons, and we're very excited about all the opportunities that can come from collaborating with these programs in the future, perhaps leadership programs, peer mentoring, or other opportunities that the students can participate in. Through our recent realignment, excuse me, many areas are now included in the Learning Commons. The different colors represented on this slide show all of the areas and where they used to report to different places on campus, and some areas that didn't exist, like the Center for Academic Achievement. The Learning Commons has brought them all together under the Division of Instruction and Learning, and this will further break down silos at DCC and allow for greater collaboration. While these offices have been brought together in the work that we do, we are all still physically separated, as many of these areas are in different buildings on campus. As of right now, all of the Learning Commons components are in 5 different buildings across the main campus here. This is a central issue that we'd like to address through the development of the Learning Commons as a physical space as we move forward with our next 10 plans. Bringing all of these resources to one location will provide greater opportunity for students to interact with each other, with other students, and with faculty. It will promote engagement, true learning, and student success. So now that we've talked a little bit about what the Learning Commons is, I just want to talk about the elements that are required for a productive and innovative Learning Commons at a community college. So we believe that these are those elements: a dedicated and talented Learning Commons staff, an intuitive, welcoming environment, student-focused resources, technology, and spaces, and those spaces should be dynamic and engaging, resources and programming that meet the needs of a diverse student body and promote student success, and of course, assessment. We always want to be improving and doing better with every new initiative that we try. The next few slides highlight some of our accomplishments over the past year in these areas. I won't read all of these, but I did want to highlight a few before we move on to further discussion of these elements. So over the past year, we've created a hardworking and supportive team, and we're all working very well together. It's an exciting group to work with. We've collaborated with communications and marketing to create a central space on our website for the Learning Commons. We've returned our content tutoring to Hudson Hall through the Center for Academic Achievement. And we've made changes to some of our existing spaces. We now have a zine library, we've reorganized the Math and Science Center, and we've collaborated with other divisions to create a meditation space. With regard to resources and programming, that's been a strong focus for us over the past year. We've expanded our collaborative programming across the Learning Commons. We've implemented supplemental education opportunities in the Math and Science Center. We now have office hours for accommodative services being held in various Learning Commons areas, and we've brought embedded librarianship back to the library. With regard to assessment, the Writing Center has been collaborating with the faculty assessment leader to create assessment tools for the student interactions that take place there. Now I'd like to take a little time for each element to talk about where we are now and where we'd like to go in the future. The accomplishments of the past slides are due to our dedicated and talented Learning Commons staff, some of who you see here. We've created a team that works well together, and we always put our students first. In the future, we'll encourage the growth and development of our staff so they can continue to provide excellent resources and programming to our students. This next slide focuses on the centralized learning environment that we hope to create. As I've mentioned, we already have collaborative services, and we do have a central location on the website, but we'd like to move towards a central location as a physical space. The image here shows all of the items that we would like to be part of that Learning Commons. The blue areas represent things that already exist, so we have our library, accessibility resources, testing, C-STEP honors programs. The green are items that are either in progress or things that we already have but would like to expand on. So we already have tutoring, but we'd like to switch to more of a learning lab environment. We'd love to have more mentoring and leadership opportunities for our students and more collaborative spaces. And then the brown color is things that we would like to have but are not yet part of the Learning Commons. So we're optimistic that we could have an IT help desk in that physical space so that students can get the assistance they need without going to another building. And we'd like to have exploration and discovery maker spaces. The third element is to make sure the student focus is in all of the work that we do. This is absolutely essential and supports the vision, mission, and goals of Dutchess Community College. With regard to student-focused resources, technology, and spaces, we already have a strong focus on the student experience in the work that we do in our resources and programming, but we'd like to increase that through thoughtfully designed spaces and technology that complements our curriculum. In the future, we'd love to have a Learning Commons Advisory Board with student representation, and we'd like to focus on portable assets in the coming year and then participate in the building decisions that will be made through the next 10. The next element is dynamic and engaging spaces. A successful Learning Commons needs spaces that meet the needs of a diverse student body with a focus on flexibility, accessibility, and technology. So what you see here are two images of possible spaces, a possible maker space or a new way to think about library or tutoring spaces. As I've mentioned, we've already redesigned some of our spaces to be more engaging, like our zine space or the meditation room. And in the future, we'll be doing extensive library weeding to create new opportunities for space by having less physical books in the library. We also want to explore technology to complement our curriculum, like virtual reality and augmented reality, 3D printers, makerspace equipment and other opportunities, and of course furniture that's ergonomic, accessible, and meets the needs of our students, such as the Steelcase products. For those of you who attended ConvoCon in January, Steelcase was there, and they were showcasing a variety of their products that can meet the needs of our students. They're a really interesting company, and they do extensive and ongoing research to create engaging and active learning spaces. So I would encourage everyone to look at the lookbook that they created. It includes images from other community colleges and some of our spaces transformed with their products. The next element is resources and programming for a diverse student body, which we have talked about quite a bit already. And in the future, we hope to expand on all of the things that we're doing now, plus add additional services. So we're working on more supplemental education opportunities, more leadership programming and mentoring, more online discussions or in-person discussions for online classes, and we'd like to focus on high-impact practices. As we know, high-impact practices yield higher levels of learning and success for students, and some of these things are already happening at DCC, and we'd love to have the Learning Commons be more involved in those. So here I've listed a few of those things, such as service learning, internships, e-portfolios, first-year experiences. And the final element, which is certainly not the least important, it's perhaps the most important, assessment and continuous improvement. This is already important in all of the Learning Commons areas, but we'd like to be doing it in a more holistic way across the Learning Commons. And we'd like to work more at the faculty assessment leader to be in alignment with all of our ISLOs. So now we're gonna join a Steelcase virtual tour so they can show us some of the opportunities with their products, and I'd be happy to answer questions after that. Hi, Jerry, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
They have some cleaning music in the background, so it's piped in. So you can't hear that very well.
All right, well, thank
Anybody
you.
hear some fancy dance music going on in the background?
I don't. We don't hear it.
Perfect. Perfect. I just want to welcome everybody to Steelcase. I know that we're on a tighter schedule, so if okay, I'll provide some brief introduction, and then we'll jump right into it. Bonnie's given me some direction as far as what you might like to see. My name is Jerry Brown. I am a professor also at GVSU, where I work at the College of Education as an instructor. I've been with Steelcase for about 8 years now. And my role here is as a learning consultant. So I'm so happy to be able to take you on a brief tour of our area. If there's any call-outs that you have, please feel free to stop me and jump right in. I'm happy to converse and discuss any items that you are interested in hearing about. With that, shall we begin?
Sure, thank you.
Just want to say
Oh,
hello.
hey, there's one. Hi, Dory.
Hi. Yeah, so you're in very good hands. I know we only have 15 minutes. I'm going to follow up with some thought starters for you. We usually put them in the chat, but I think with the short time frame that we have, we'll kind of go through, and then Bonnie, maybe you can collect any additional comments or things that you would like us to follow up on. So without further ado, I'm going to let Jerry do his thing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dorothy. So a couple key point outs that I'd like to bring to everyone's attention, and if you have some feedback, I'd love to hear it. One of the areas that I'm commissioned to do further research in is with community colleges, tech, and trade schools. And some of the research that we've been doing has pointed to the need to create spaces, especially in the new model of community colleges. So I may be speaking to the choir, so stop me if I am. As far as creating those communal spaces and those key areas that students can touch down, because the more that we engage students and keep them on campus, the more they're going to persist. And that's one of the areas that I also research at Grand Valley is for student persistence and create some course content. And a couple of point outs here is we have some personal booths that we have that work well in community areas, but these also are great because we use them at Grand Valley, and I know they're using them in the Minnesota system, so Minnesota State just bought a bunch of these, as well as Arizona State and other schools, for students who need to do like video conferencing or they need to do audio or video work for classes. Would this be something that would be of interest to you all? Something along these lines?
Definitely.
We had one or two at ComboCon.
Beautiful. And we can include some case studies if that would be interesting for them. But there's another one back there, and I'm going to walk past a couple more. But again, this area that we're going to kind of go through today is fairly vast, so I'm going to try and hit some vignettes as we go through. Another area or another common theme is, hey, what do touchdown spaces look? Are there areas for students to collaborate? And then not only when they collaborate, can they share their ideas and can they build on those ideas? This area happens to be our cafeteria here at Steelcase. So do you have like a common cafe or cafeteria that you have students use quite often?
We
or like
do.
food court,
Yes.
something like that?
We
Is
do.
that of interest?
No, those parts. Can you hear us?
Yes?
Yes, we do.
Okay, sorry, the sound's not great here on my end. So as I take you through, we have the different group areas or small group rooms. This is a product called Everwall. I know the lighting's not terrific in here, so I'm gonna do a quick spin around here. So an area where students can get together and work in larger groups. Is that something that you're considering as well, as far as your spaces?
Definitely.
Perfect. So there's a wide variety of sits and positionalities that are considered when we put together our seating arrangements. The main purpose that we're working on is creating functionality in flexible spaces because we know that impacts learning and outcomes. So some of the research that we've done includes some work with Sharon Beaudry at Oregon State Tech, and then we also have some studies that we've done with a colleague of mine, Robert Talbert at Grand Valley, on active learning. Some of the so if you go down here, this is an example of the shared spaces that we have. So notice there's a flexible cart where students can wheel it in, wheel it out, and share some content over here in the corner. On the back wall, we're very keenly aware of the need for low tech support as students get together and collaborate. So whiteboards or mobile whiteboards are kind of key or key call out. And then stackable or nestable furniture so that you can have an opportunity to rearrange and reconfigure and bring in folks as you do. So those are all kind of key call outs within this area. And I know I'm going kind of fast. Anything that you are interested in this specific area, or you'd like me to call out more? Or Dorothy, would you like to jump in?
No, I think you're doing a great job.
Perfect.
I don't know that we've ever done a 15-minute presentation. Great.
I'm trying to motor, and I'm gonna signal the person who's back down to the vacuum. Just a sec here. So this is again another example. This is a variety of spaces here where you have individual desks that students or individuals can use as they touch down. There's one of the things that we noticed from some research that we did with Virginia Tech was that 45-degree angle sight line is key. So if you allow students the ability to have this sight line blocked, so they're not making eye contact or visual or see movement, it's really impactful as far as how they can focus on their work. So that was some research that we did that's impactful in design here. Again, just another high top, so a variety of different desk arrangements so that students can find that modality that they need or that they're looking for. And again, this is over to the side. We have some examples of some work areas for some collaborative working areas. Here, hybrid is a big deal. I think most of the calls that we do are hybrid, but we have people calling in, so that's a major call out. Remember that smaller individual study area that was it's an Orange Box product. This is a larger one of those. It has venting up in the ceiling. These louvers open up, and the lights turn on automatically. So this is kind of a nice lower cost solution to brick and mortar as far as saying, hey, we need to build something in a specific area.
I'm just going to jump in for a second, Jerry. What's really unique about this product is that you don't need to drop a sprinkler in the space. So you can build this box and have the sprinkler sit on top of it. And if there is a fire or there's detected, those louvers open up and then the water's able to get down into the space. A lot of times these sort of movable offices are really not that movable because you have to get a plumber in and you have to drop sprinkler lines, and then if you want to reconfigure, it's doing all of that in reverse. So this is a really very unique setup that you're able to do this without having to get a plumber and sprinklers involved. It also has its own air circulation and lighting in this space too, so it's completely contained. And they come in all different sizes.
Those are great call outs. That kind of segues me as I make my run to the next area here. So thank you, Bonnie. So as we go through this area, this is again another example of some different options that we offer here at in-between spaces. And those in-between spaces, again, what the research is telling us is that they're so important to allow for students to touch down, share ideas. So whether you have a small bench with a high top table, which allows for gathering and working around, grabbing a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, whatever's within that area, and then a whiteboard in the back so we can share some of their ideas or share some thinking. We have put these in throughout Grand Valley, especially in some of the areas that I work. I work in primarily high flex classrooms at Grand Valley. So just a kind of quick observation is that the more touchdown spaces that are offered, the more students use them. So when other students see other students using the touchdown spaces, it becomes an area to collaborate and to work in. For example, a newer building that we put in downtown has in every corner collaborative spaces. It has in-between spaces, in between classrooms, and those are almost always full, especially at night for 6 to 9 classes that we teach downtown. Any thoughts with what you're looking for?
Jerry, do you
by chance have any dorms or anything that you're working on?
I was just gonna ask about dorms.
Some schools are working on those.
We do. Jerry, do you have close by an example of how furniture can be used to create tiered kinds of spaces and seating?
Absolutely. And I think that's a really interesting, that's a good segue to where we're going now, because we'll show you a few tiered sections or opportunities. This is one of our products called Elbrook, and with Elbrook, there's some movable chairs with a couple nodes and shortcuts. But these chairs, again, are highly movable. They're easily cleanable, and the functionality with the Elbrook table is that it's on skates, so you can move it where you would like to move it, but it appears to be fixed. So if you need to switch it out and clean it, or if you want to get a new configuration within the space, it's easier to do. And that flexibility, again, is what we're hearing from a lot of our customers in higher ed, is that they want a flexible space that can be reconfigured. Especially when you have seated arrangements and then you have the high top, because one of the key call-outs in a lot of courses that we're working on, or course rooms that we're working on in Grand Valley, is that ability to have, again, multiple positionalities and movement supported. So in cafeterias, in between spaces, those are key areas where we can have different seating positions for students, especially because it creates inclusivity and community. I know the lighting's kind of bad back here, so I'm going to scoot that in. We have a flashing light up here. Again, here's more of a, it almost looks like a fire alarm went off, right? So this is more of a shared space. We have many different options as far as soft seating in these spots. This is our e-gaming space. And were you interested in e-gaming, or was that something that you were considering?
We do have e-sports, yes.
So with esports, just 3 quick call-outs that we have as far as what we've done in our research and kind of the key use that we present to different design firms is you can have a battle station, which is kind of in the background with a screen where individuals can kind of look and see what's going on. And then there's a collaborative area or an area that people can observe and ask questions, and that brings people in and invites them in. Because again, we're looking for how are we creating spaces that are inclusive and inviting. And when we have different things that are accessible to students when they see them and they know that they can touch down, watch, and then become included, it's a powerful motivator, and it helps with persistence. And again, this is another area. This is our soft seating or our console gaming area. So there's 3 areas in esports that we're representing here. It's showcased now is like a console area, the battle station, and like a collaboration or observation station. And I'll keep moving down here. And then you let me know with, again, when we need to have a hard stop.
I think we're about ready to wrap up, if that's all right.
Very good.
Thank you,
Very
Jerry.
nice.
Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I will follow up with some PowerPoint bullets with some thought starters for all these different areas that you'll be able to kind of look at and dissect as well.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank
Good
you.
to see everyone.
Take care. Have a
Bye-bye.
great night.
Good night.
Thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Dr. Jordan, can I just?
Really cool.
So, this company that just presented to us will be a potential bidder on this project?
Could be.
So I just want to be clear that by them presenting to the board, they are in no way favored vendor. I don't want there to be any implication of them
Yeah.
presenting to the board on this and having a favorable advantage. So whenever this goes to RFP, if they decide to bid, they have the same opportunity as everyone else.
So the purpose of this is simply to give the board some context for thinking about spaces and the use of spaces as context for the presentation you heard from Bonnie.
Very helpful.
Associate Dean Gallagher, that was a great presentation you did.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
I
thank
also
you.
want to point out, just for everybody, that the presentation has been expanded since I first saw it, but it was made to a
Slightly.
couple of the committees. No, it was good, it's the way you expanded it. Seeing Dana and other people there who work in this was actually nice to me to get faces with who are talking about there. So, and in addition, since I attended ConvoCon, I don't remember if anybody else went or not, but we had the same presentation from Steelcase, only I'll say in 3D. Like they brought that isolation booth and we all got to sit inside it, and it is soundproofed and you can study, do anything you want to inside there. I think there was room for 2 people in the one we had. In addition, we had the same kind of presentation where it wasn't really so much administration looking. We were hearing from teachers, professors, faculty were like, oh wait, I love that, wait, I can do this, we can do this. So Steelcase, of course, has a special division that works on just education, which is why that they were, I think, presenting there and now. As it turns out, I actually knew some of the people who were doing the presentations because I've got friends who were in the furniture wholesale business. But yes, there will be ample opportunity for other bidders because there's plenty of people who do this. But it was fun that they were able to, for ConvoCon, actually take us through the same thing that they just did there, but it was better lighting because it was during the morning, just so we could point out, so we could all actually see as they were dragging the camera around what we were seeing. It was a little bit harder here. And also because we had an hour presentation that morning, they were able to show us lots more of how they can break down, like, he couldn't break down things quickly like they did that day, so it's a little bit different. But either way, it was a great presentation, I think.
Thank you.
So anybody have any questions of Bonnie?
Can they share us some of the data he talked about?
I think Dorothy will share that, and when she follows up, I can ask for those studies that he referenced.
I think it's so great because when you go on campuses now, they are really focused on much more dynamic spaces and as he said, you know, really trying to foster collaboration and not in the traditional desk and chair pushed in, but kids are just used to that, about being able to move and pull things around, and so it's really great. And to see what they're doing with the dorms also would be interesting, because creating study rooms and dorms is a big thing as well. Kids will go in and they'll use it and you know, more inclined to spend time studying and going to the library traditionally.
Yeah, and Dr. Jordan's point about the tiered spaces, that's a big focus for them in classrooms too, just having a variety of
Yes.
opportunities for students, that anyone who comes into that classroom will find a space that's comfortable for them, whether they're standing, sitting, or on like a beanbag chair or couch or something, so, yeah.
Great.
Anybody else? Thank you, Bonnie, very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is an enrollment update from Scott.
When we were here last month, we were pretty close to done, so I think we had a couple days of late start enrollment to still happen, and not a whole lot happened. The classes were close to full by that point, so we only had a few stragglers come in. So we ended up about where we were then, about 4,200 students, 47,000 credits, an increase between 7 and 8% over last year. So what that means budgetarily, it's between tuition and fees, that's an $118,000 increase over budget, so that goes away towards erasing some of the deficit. What we didn't have last month was where we were with concurrent enrollment. So we have 2,244 students for 11,746 credits. So that's about 2/3, 70% of what we had last year. So it's not a really huge loss, which we were actually budgeted at 50% of that. We thought we might lose more of that. So we've already, just in the fall, almost realized the income, revenue, expense for the year. We're pretty much assured of being at least $300,000 above budget just on that, on the concurrent enrollment. So we should be over 1.1 million above on enrollment, just from what we know right now. But what I wanted to talk about tonight is how we got here. So I think the increase is a result of a bunch of different things. We did a lot of different initiatives, and most importantly, we kind of arranged things so enrollment became a focus. And because enrollment became a focus, we were able to do different things and had look at the data and see what's working, what isn't, and go throughout the process and get to a better place in the end. So I'll talk about some of the things that worked, some of the things that didn't. The first thing was SUNY's free application weeks, which we're right in the midst of right now for next year. Our application's free anyway, so not a big deal for us. We did get 176 applications from it, only 21 of which were local. Most of them were from the city. But it only resulted in 6 students ultimately, which is a much lower return than we typically get. If we looked at this system-wide, I'm sure we're losing students from that initiative from SUNY, because students who might not have applied elsewhere to the 4-year schools probably did, because they could for free and they went there instead of here. So that was not a winner for us. Our agreements with New Paltz and Marist directly generated 44 applications and 18 students, 8 of whom were in the residence hall. That's a lowball number for that, so those are students generated directly from their letter telling them they were denied. And they clicked on that link, applied here, and ended up here. But students found out about it in other ways. When admissions is on the road, they talk about it. And other students just apply to both to begin with, so they would just come here anyway. Another SUNY initiative is cascading admissions, where if a student is denied at everywhere they've applied to, they will match them with a college, typically a community college that will admit them. We got 77 referrals, 18 applications, and 9 students. We're not spending anything on that, so that's a great return on investment too. Something the chancellor did late in the spring last year was send every student in the county a letter saying they were admitted to their local community college. We got 24 applications and 14 students from that. And those are students who probably hadn't been thinking about going to college at all. So that worked quite well despite being way too late. This year they're going to be doing it earlier, they're going to be warning people, and it was also done where students who had already applied here got the message, so it was really messy last year, so I think it could be even better this year. New micro-credentials. We had a couple of new micro-credentials where we basically maxed out on what we were expecting for the fall, the cannabis retail management and the direct support professional. Between the two of them, over 40 new students that we would not have had otherwise. These are areas where we wouldn't normally be recruiting. And I'm hoping for the spring, both of them are shooting for higher numbers in the spring. So fingers crossed that will come to fruition. We had a couple of initiatives with the foundation. I want to thank Diana for her help with those. One was an alumni initiative where students who had earned at least 40 credits in the past would get a free class here. So we had 40 students take that. Some of these, many of them have not graduated. Some of them have, but many of them have not. So they might continue on to try to get to graduation. We had at least one student who took more classes in the fall. And we're hoping to revisit and do it again. I hope, right, Diana?
It worked.
No pressure.
The other initiative with the foundation was for students at the family partnerships. There were 7 students taking a class there who were in our HSE and ESL programs where the foundation covered the classes. Many of them are very eager to start here this spring, so we're hoping that those will actually bring students into matriculated programs in the spring. We also had outreach to stop outs with 50+ credits, and there were 500+ of them that have just in the past few years stopped attending. That relatively inexpensive brought us in 25 students that we might not otherwise have had. I actually think we can do much better with that group. We had to delay it because of issues in other offices where we had to move resources, and somebody who had been hired to work on this had to go somewhere else. So if we had somebody right from the beginning, I think we can do better, maybe even double that, hopefully next year. AdWords, and John isn't here, but that's something that he did a lot of work on that was really made a big difference. It generated over 1,400 inquiries, over 500 applications, many of them coming from adults 25 plus. So overall, AdWords was a huge success, particularly for the aviation programs. The pilot program absolutely exploded. But within that, there were things that didn't work. We tried advertising for our business program. We tried for hospitality and tourism and got nothing, no return on investment whatsoever on those. I think largely because to play in those fields, you have to spend a lot of money to get to the top of the search when you're doing a search, so we did not get any return on those. It works better with the programs as a whole or with unique programs that we have. As you know, we had Spark 451, a consultant that worked with us on messaging with students and outreach to students. That was something that was pervasive throughout the entire process, so I'll just talk about a couple examples. They emailed 22,000 seniors in high school about our programs. From that, we got 182 applications and 95 students enrolled, and that's direct from their outreach. But they also, so they had branched outreach depending on different populations. So they had some for high school seniors, for the parents of the seniors, for students who have stopped out and wanted to be readmitted, students who are interested in micro-credentials. And the average admitted students was getting 18 emails from them at different, typically once a week, just reminding them about the college, keeping them engaged, telling them about different aspects of the college. So each email was different, just to show them all the different things that they could get when they came here to DCC. We also did a direct mailer with them, which went to homes locally. That resulted in 34 applications, which sounds like a small number, but for us to be counting them, they actually had to type the URL somewhere and go to the page for us to know they came through it. Most students are not going to type a URL, they're going to search on DCC and just do their application that way. We're going to do that mailer in-house this year. We also tried to enroll students earlier. We had the advising center going out to the residence hall. We had group advisings for some programs, so we could do 10 students at once rather than one. So students were enrolled much more quickly, and when we got to that last week, wait times were 11 minutes instead of 72 minutes like they were last year. EOP was a big push from SUNY this year, and that was somewhere where we had to send resources because they had a new verification system for finance that was a disaster. And the amount of time needed to be spent in the EOP office was ridiculous to try to make this work. Despite that, we had 15 more new EOP students than we had last year. Something that didn't work, we thought students might not need to see an advisor to enroll. So we sent out a subset of students with GPAs over 3.0 who hadn't yet enrolled, see whether they just wanted to enroll themselves. Only I think 2 took us up on it. Students wanted to see advisors, including the students who are doing really well and probably know what they need to take next. They still wanted to see their advisor. So that, I think, covers most of the initiatives that we have, and we'll try different things going forward this year. For example, registration starts on Monday. In the past, it's always been you'd had to have at least 40 credits to enroll on the first day, and then you do a couple days of that, then down to 30. We're just letting everybody go from the beginning, because looking at the last 2 terms, we weren't at capacity those first couple of days, so there's no reason to be restricting it to just a certain group of people on those days, so we want to get them in earlier so there's more time to work with other students later. And then I'll just do a quick looking forward. Spring applications are up over 20%. That's only 50-some applications. It's not a lot of applications in the spring, but it's still an improvement. And we're over double where we were for fall next year. At this time last year, we have 438 versus 211 last year. A lot of that due to Mike and his staff going into the high schools. We got 50 applications from Poughkeepsie High School and Instant Admit just in the past 2 weeks. Any questions?
Sounds
Yes.
great.
On the micro credential for marijuana, where do you expect that program to max out? Because I feel like the program, the stores will be opened sometime moving forward, God knows when in New York State. What is the projected life of this program?
I think many of the micro-credentials, the lifespan of them is going to be a year or two. And
Okay.
we're going to have to keep generating new ones.
New ones.
Even with the direct service provider, we've got funding that's going through the summer. After that funding's gone, we're going to have to hope that some of the providers fund it. It probably won't be as robust after that, but hopefully we'll have new things, mechatronics, micro-credentials, things like that. Because we're going to just have to keep generating new programs because it's not going to be long-term.
Okay.
And part of the plan is to make sure we move those students into degree programs as well. So we have a captive audience. We make sure we advise them and put them on pathways that lead to associate degrees.
Yeah, and I think with the DSP program, that's going to work pretty well. The cannabis, maybe not so much. I think they want to get the credential and go out. Yeah.
What's the data look like on who is taking those programs? In other words, age demographic and so on?
If they're older students, by and large, yeah. It's almost all students in their 20s and 30s.
Interesting.
That's older.
Yes.
Younger students from my
That counts
perspective.
these days.
Like, wow,
Exactly, wow.
They're not 18,
Okay,
24-year-olds.
okay. Still not old.
I'd like to point out that in one area, Scott deliberately broke out the concurrent tuition because there was a question when we decided to do what Cindy suggested and charge, how it would impact enrollment. And it's not really apples to apples because, like for example, Our Lady of Lourdes completely just stopped doing any of the concurrent through us. And by the way, I should add here, Our Lady of Lourdes was the one that was actually charging a markup on what. At any rate, there's the reduction. We can't really say that it's just been because some students couldn't afford it.
Right.
And in particular because some of the school districts, including City of Poughkeepsie, actually is paying for their students to take these courses still anyway. Some have, some haven't. It just depends on how they were set up. But thank you, Scott. Any other, and I've talked to Scott about this in my weekly meetings with Peter, but it is a concatenation of things that happen to increase enrollment. In other words, not just one thing like the economy's back or that we're the lowest tuition still. There's a variety of factors there. The most important to me is that it's been a lot of outreach on the part of the college into the students, into the community. That includes Mike Rowe going out, going to the high schools, greeting high school counselors. There's just been a lot of movement on this, and that's what it's going to take, I think, to keep this up. So,
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
I know we're running late. The last two items are liaison reports. First from DCC Foundation.
Yes, the Foundation Board meeting was on September the 28th and welcomed 3 new board members, Keith Daly, Susan Chivalette-McCormick, and Kelly Traver. The Foundation approved several new contracts with consultants to assist with data, grants, and prospect research, and they approved the new officers, Raymond Freda, Chair, Lisa Morris as Vice Chair, Michael Graham as Treasurer, and Adam Podpora as Secretary. Additionally, the annual budget was set. The Foundation will hold its next board meeting on December the 1st at the Culinary Institute of America, and of course, you will all receive an invitation in your board packets to that event. The Handel Family Foundation endowed faculty chair to perpetuate the legacy of Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt with guest speaker Shannon McKenna Schmidt was well received. She was engaged, and her topic is one that has not been discussed prior here on campus. Diana Pollard and Lisa Morris both attended the CASE conference in California, and it resulted in a $50,000 pledge. Congratulations, Diana, from the Greenspan Trust to support child care. Lisa has also commented on how as board chair, or I should say as a member of the board, she benefited from the conference material and looks forward to sharing and implementing what she learned at the conference.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions for Trustee Costello? Next would be the liaison report for DCC Association, which is again going to be Trustee Cloud, because I wasn't there, sorry.
Okay. Chris Descanio gave the financial report as of 6/30/23. Residence hall revenues are 20% below budget. Expenses were over budget by 9% due to the interest on bond and increases in utility costs. Bookstore had a surplus of $83,000. Dining revenue was $12,000 better than expected. Expenses were 22% lower due to higher catering sales for campus events and cash credit sales. Vending commissions have done extremely well now that there is a higher presence on campus. Daycare revenue ended up 12% lower than budget due to the staffing shortage. The association audit will begin October 2023. Another waiver will need to be requested for the audit from M&T Bank, as the association will not pass the debt covenant ratio again. Resolutions were passed to reappoint directors, appoint 2 new student representatives, and elect officers for 2023 to 24. Dr. Jordan informed the board that the transportation program for students has been reinstated this fall. The county and the college are working together, and we are now paying for bus rides for our students. There will also be a shuttle service for campus students to get back and forth between the HVR airport and DCC at Fishkill. Dr. Jordan identified 3 issues the board must grapple with: childcare, the lack of staffing due to hiring challenges and compensation issues, residence hall, the inability of the association to meet the board covenant, multi-purpose athletic field, getting support from the county for the capital project, and if that doesn't happen, alternate options. Adam Rathbun, DCCA president, was charged with creating working groups to explore solutions to these 3 problems, each led by a board member and supported by 1 college administrator.
Any questions for Dara?
So I take it our childcare is completely full.
Well, not quite, because we are not at capacity in terms
Right.
of instructors.
Right.
And we need the instructors to meet the enrollment quotas. So we have room to grow, but we need instructors.
And we pay a very low wage for some of the instructors, which is why we have a constant problem.
Right.
Which is why the working group to discuss how we address those issues.
Yeah.
Same thing with the dormitory because of the rise in interest rates. I mean, when we were talking to the bankers, we're always
Variable
like,
rate.
variable rates, we're like, how can we help? Like, lower the interest rates, ha ha ha. But that's not going to happen, so, thank you both. That concludes the workshop portion of our meeting. Does anyone want to take a break before we start the regular meeting? If not, then I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:31. Before I ask for a pledge of allegiance, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence. We have lost 2 students, George Guerrero and Daniel Kurt. Valued students. One was very close to graduating, so please join me. Thank you. Trustee Pratt, would you like to lead us in a pledge of allegiance tonight?
Sure.
Thank you, Lou.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Bonicello, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Frank Costello,
Present.
Mr. Stephen Castro,
Present.
Ms. Maya Chinkan,
present.
Ms. Dara Cloud,
Present.
Mr. Michael Dupree,
Present.
Ms. Angela Flesley,
Present.
Ms. Lisa Ghartey,
Present.
Mr. Ibis Guzman,
Present.
Ms. Evelyn Panici,
Present.
Ms. Linda Pratt,
Present.
quorum present.
Thank you. It's a full house tonight. Thanks, everybody. Making a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? That motion carries. Joy, did anyone sign up for public comment tonight?
None.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda will be consideration of the minutes for the meeting held on September 19th. Everyone has had a chance to read them. I know I did, and I found no errors.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Frank. Is there a second?
Second.
Flip a coin on that one, Joya.
Yeah.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? The motion carries. The next item is committee reports. Just to note that as the chair, I'm ex officio to all the committees. I didn't make it to all of them, but I made it to a lot. And Evis, down there, that's the longest committee meeting we had for years. Thank you so much for chairing this. At any rate, all the resolutions are discussed in committee as well. First would be Academic and Student Affairs, Chair Ghartey.
So I'll just briefly go through some updates. We do have one resolution for academic and student affairs. Dr. Jordan, during our last committee meeting, spoke about the finalization of the bylaws for the Professional Service Alliance, and that is our resolution for approval today during our meeting. But before I read in the resolution, I just want to give some of our updates. We discussed the strategic plan during our recent meeting, and also the Center for Excellence for Nursing and Allied Health. And one of our trustees, Trustee Cloud, and Scott Stackenberg went to visit Colby College, and I understand it was a really successful trip. Really great information learned and information that we can bring back to Dutchess, so very excited about that. So that's all for informational updates, but I'm going to read in our resolution. So resolution number 2024-15, we offer the following. Whereas a complete review of the initial bylaws for the Professional Service Alliance was conducted, and whereas based upon this review, revisions to the bylaws are recommended and adopted, and whereas the members of the board reviewed the updated bylaws and concurred with the recommendation to officially accept the Professional Service Alliance as part of the governance structure of the college, now therefore it be is resolved that the Professional Service Alliance, the bylaws of which is attached to this resolution, and shall be made part of the official minutes of this meeting, is hereby approved as a governance body of the college and shall be effective immediately. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any objections?
All
in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's it for our committee.
Thank you, Lisa. Next item on the agenda will be board policy, chaired by Evis. Chair Guzman.
So we met on October 11th. We reviewed a few policies that I will be bringing for reaffirmation. This includes firearms and weapons policy, sustainability policy, and college-sponsored student travel policy. We did discuss a new policy that I will be bringing to the board here, which is the remote meetings under extraordinary circumstances policy. As per open meetings law, this policy can be passed by resolution from the board following the public hearing also scheduled for today. We had some informational updates. We went over the upcoming breakfast on November 15th for Dutchess County Chamber of Commerce, where Dr. Jordan will be the keynote speaker. We also were asked to do the Board of Trustees biographies so that we can have current information for everybody. And our December meeting will be December 5th, and we will have an upcoming committee meeting on November 8th. That was all of the informational updates, and I'll move forward to our reaffirmation policies. So at this point, I bring forward resolution 2024-16, and we offer the following resolution and move to its adoption. Whereas in keeping with good governance practices, the Board of Trustees Policy Committee reviews board and college administrative policies on a regular basis, and whereas based upon this review, the Policy Committee has determined the policy on firearms and weapons should be reaffirmed and remain in effect now, therefore it be resolved that based upon the recommendations of the Policy Committee, the aforementioned policy on weapons and firearms is hereby reaffirmed and is to remain in effect Be it further resolved that the board reconsider this policy again within 5 years or earlier, should it be determined revisions are needed prior to the scheduled review date.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I offer resolution 2024-17. We offer the following resolution and move to its adoption. Be it further resolved that based upon the recommendations of the policy committee, the affirmation policy on sustainability is hereby reaffirmed and is to remain in effect. And be it further resolved that the board reconsider this policy again within 5 years or earlier, should it be determined revisions are needed prior to the scheduled review date.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Motion carries as well.
I bring forward resolution 2024-18, and we offer the following resolution and move to its adoption. Be it resolved that based upon the recommendations of the policy committee and the affirmation policy on college-sponsored student travel is hereby reaffirmed and is to remain in effect, and be it further resolved that the board reconsider this policy again within 5 years or earlier, should it be determined revisions are needed prior to the scheduled review date.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Motion carries.
I bring forward resolution 2024-19, and we offer the following resolution and move to its adoption. Be it resolved that as the recommended by the president of the college, the Board of Trustees opens a public hearing to review resolution number 2024-21 on remote meetings under the extraordinary circumstances.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is now open. Would any member of the public like to speak about this particular resolution and changing policy? There being none like this, you can read the next resolution.
I bring forward resolution 2024-20. We offer the following resolution and move to its adoption. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees closes the public hearing on resolution number 2024-21 on remote meetings under the extraordinary circumstances.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It is now closed.
Okay. I bring forward resolution 2024-21 and we offer the following resolution and move to its adoption. Whereas by passing Chapter 56 of the laws of 2022, Chapter 56 and Chapter 58 of the laws of 2023, the New York State Legislature amended Section 103 of the Open Meetings Law, and whereas Chapter 56 adds Section 103-A of the Open Meetings Law, permitting the Board of Trustees to authorize its members to attend meetings by video conferencing under the extraordinary circumstances, and whereas Section 103-A sub 2 sub A requires the Board of Trustees to adopt the resolution following a public hearing authorizing the limited use of video conferencing under such circumstances, and whereas Section 103-A sub 2 allows for hybrid meetings by requiring that a minimum number of members are present to fulfill the public's body's quorum requirement in the same physical location or locations where the public can attend. And Chapter 58 amended Section 103-A sub 2 sub C to provide that a public body may determine to allow for any member who has a disability as defined in Section 292 of the Executive Law, whereas such disability renders such member unable to participate in person at any such meeting location where the public can attend to be considered present for purposes of fulfilling the quorum requirements for such public body at any meetings conducted through video conferencing pursuant to this section, provided, however, that the remaining criteria set forth in this subdivision are otherwise met, and provided further that that the public body maintains at least one physical location where the public can attend such meeting. And whereas section 103-A sub 2 sub C requires that members be physically present at any such meeting unless such member is unable to be physically present at any such meeting location due to extraordinary circumstances, including disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, or any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes the member's physical attendance at such meeting. And whereas in accordance with section 103-A sub 2 sub D, any members attending by video conference must excerpt during executive session be heard, seen, and identified while the meeting is conducted, included but not limited to any motions, proposals, resolutions, and any other matter formally discussed or voted upon. And whereas section 103-A sub 2 sub G requires that any meeting member attends by video conferencing be recorded, posted to the Board of Trustees webpage within 5 business days, and transcribed upon request. And whereas section 103-A sub 2 sub H requires that members of the public be permitted to attend and participate, if authorized, in any meeting by video conferencing when a member attends by video conference. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes its members to experience an extraordinary circumstance as described above and further defined by any rules or written procedures later adopted to attend meetings by video conferencing, 1, as long as the quorum of the members attend in person at one or more locations open to the public, provided that a member with a disability may be considered present for purpose of fulfilling quorum requirements pursuant to section 103-A sub 2 sub C semi 2, as long as the member can be seen, heard, and identified while the open portion of the meeting is being conducted, and sub 3, as otherwise permitted under chapter 56 of the laws of 2022 and chapter 58 of the laws of 2023. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees shall create written procedures further governing its use of video conferencing by its members in compliance with chapter 56 of the laws of 2022 and chapter 58 of the laws of 2023.
Second.
That was a mouthful of these. Thank you.
A mouthful, I need to.
I'm going to ask for any further discussion. I just want to point out a couple of things here. So this is for, I want to make sure I understand this, extraordinary reasons. So in other words, if you're just going to say, well, I can't make it because I'm going to be stuck at work, that's not usually considered an extraordinary reason, unless it doesn't happen very often. But if you're going to be, say, I had to travel for a funeral and I'm overseas or anything like that, all those are extraordinary reasons. So it would just be up to the individual requesting this to make sure that you communicate with Joya and Peter and me or the other chair at the time to make sure we all agree that it's an extraordinary reason. In addition, this is still the same because it's the law for public officers, and that is that if, say, I'm going to participate I was in Portugal for a meeting, the last board meeting. That's an unusual circumstance, so I can participate, but we do have to offer members of the public the opportunity to join me in Portugal. We have to pay for them. This isn't a joke, this is the truth. I have to publish where I'm going to be, so that theoretically if someone was traveling overseas in Spain and said, I want to go see Dupree, they could go. So it seems a little silly, but these are all the requirements of doing this. That's basically it. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to talk offline. But otherwise, any other questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Elise, very much. Forgive me for going through that really lengthy one. Next item on the agenda is Finance and Facilities Committee, chaired by Stephen Caswell. Chair Caswell?
Yes, thank you. So it'll be a bit of a repeat for those that were listening in for the workshop, but we had several informational updates at our committee meeting. The first one was that on November 2nd, DCC will provide a presentation to the Dutchess County Legislators Budget, Finance, and Personnel Committee on DCC's Academic and Facilities Master Plan and the college's 2024 capital requests. And then following the November 2nd committee meeting, the full legislature will vote on the capital budget requests during their November and December meetings. Next, Adam Rathbun provided the committee with an update regarding regarding needed repairs to the newly installed stairs leading to parking lot A, and all repairs have been completed and the stairs are open again for use. There was also, Adam Rathbun provided the committee with an update on an error in faculty payroll that had to be corrected. The error was communicated to employees infected, and a solution to avoid recurrence of this error is under discussion. And finally, the committee agreed that they would proceed with our November 13th committee meeting and cancel our December meeting, given that the board meeting will be on December 5th. It just didn't make sense to have a committee meeting immediately following. So, and then we'll resume our normal schedule in January. And the last item for our consideration here tonight is a resolution where Adam Rathbun provided the committee with an update on the revisions made to the Dutchess Education Health Insurance Consortium Agreement that will be effective January 1st, 2024. And this requires board approval, so I will now read the one resolution from our committee. And that is Resolution 2024-22. I offer the following resolution and move its adoption. Be it resolved that Dutchess Community College hereby agrees to the amendment of the Dutchess Health Education Insurance Consortium Trust Agreement as proposed by DEHIC's Board of Trustees to be effective January 1st, 2024. And be it further resolved that Dr. Peter Jordan, President, is hereby authorized to execute the attached amended trust, which shall be made part of the minutes of this meeting. And be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution shall be sent along with the executed trust agreement to DEHIC.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? That motion carries unanimously as well. Thank you, Stephen.
That is it.
Next item is Personnel and Community Relations, chaired by Angela Fledlin. Vice Chair Fledlin.
Thank you. Personnel Committee has two resolutions to come before the board this evening. Resolution 2423, I offer the following and move its adoption. Whereas employee A00293-141 has requested a leave of absence in compliance with section 5.12 and section 5.14 of the 2020-2025 collective bargaining agreement with Dutchess United Educators. Employee above will use 40 days of paid parental leave, 30 days of benefit time, and the remaining leave will be unpaid parental leave, totaling 365 days of leave time. Be it resolved that based upon the recommendation of the President of the College, the Board of Trustees hereby grants employee A00293-141 a one-year non-renewable leave of absence. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? That particular employee was very detailed in the request. We were all very impressed with this. I must tell you, we were discussing it earlier in the evening. So, thank you, Angela. Sorry.
Okay. Resolution 2024-24. There is a typo in what is in front of you, so I'm going to read this as corrected. So I offer the following and move its adoption. Whereas salaries for management confidential employees have been determined for 2022-23. The president of Dutchess Community College falls under the category of management confidential employees. The president of Dutchess Community College has not had a salary increase for the 2022-23 fiscal year. Now therefore be it resolved that for the 2022-23 fiscal year, the president's salary shall be retroactively increased by the same rate as management confidential employees effective September 1st, 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, those were universal. That's a
Yes.
unanimous
Yeah.
second. So, any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you, Vice Chair Fledlin.
And thank you all.
The next item on the agenda is a report of the student trustee, Trustee Chinkan.
Good evening, everyone. So, since the last meeting, we've had 3 new clubs approved, one being the Political Science Club. We have another Dutchess Dance Club happening, and then a Trading Cards Club. For the political science club, since they were started, they have decided to go to Model UN in November 9th to the 13th. They'll be in Washington D.C. for that. And with the Dutchess Dance Club, they've had about 60 new members sign up for that. Yep.
That's great.
That's
Yeah.
really great.
And they're calling themselves the Dutchess Diamonds.
Oh, that's cute.
Another thing is that we've also had 2 new senators added to the SGA, which is really good. And then events that are happening on campus is goat yoga happened last month. It was a lot of fun. Sat with the goats actually.
Right there.
That's right.
And then this weekend there is going to be a ghost hunt on Monday actually at 7 o'clock right in Bound. And then this Friday they are showing Five Nights at Freddy's for free in Drumlin Hall. And then I think they're going to do other events. I don't remember off the top of my head. And one other thing that I wanted to mention is that students want to promote posting policies around campus. Just because there is no accessibility to students or faculty, the only place where we can find policies is in the faculty handbook. So students were discussing ways to bring awareness to this, and one of the recommendations that I really liked was putting pamphlets in the dorms so then students know posting policies are just things that they are not able to access in general. That's it.
Any questions from Maya?
I want a full report on the ghosts in Bound.
Yeah. That's really good.
I have a question. So the Dutchess dance, the Dutchess Diamonds, what is this? Is there any specific kind of dance this is to attract 60 people that fast?
Not that I know of off the top of my head.
So nothing like ballet, modern, just.
I think it might be just like a combination of whatever, like ballet and all of that.
Good, good. I think that's fantastic. And just to, I'm not going to say it's part of my report, but I just want to point out that we just got to have our dinner, with student leaders, which is really fun. I got to sit at Maya's table, so we had lighthearted conversation. I've since heard that Evelyn, where you said it was pretty intense conversation, so but it's a great way for us to meet with student leaders. And I know at our table, they were all really fun young women. I got the pleasure of being with all young women on this one. So, but we had the opportunity to find out why they chose Dutchess, where they're from. One young lady is actually an arrival from Nigeria. She'd been educated in England as well, and then went back to Nigeria and then came here. Her sister's at the Culinary Institute, and so she decided to come to Dutchess because she knew what she wanted to do. This gives her 2 years of which to kind of figure that out in terms of savings, and she said this is her 3rd semester, and she said this has been a great success because it's actually taught her now what she wants to and what she doesn't want to do, which is part of why you go to college as well.
Yeah.
So thank you, Maya. Then as for my report, next time on the agenda, Sam Rebeline, who's a professional tutor in the Writing Center, published his debut novel, Edenville, through HarperCollins, which is a major imprint, so congratulations. DCC is working with SUNY New Paltz on a grant related to improving transfers for STEM students from community colleges to 4 institutions. This is the big one. Over 200 local partners and community members turned out to celebrate the ribbon cutting for our new mechatronics lab, and to welcome First Lady Jill Biden to Fishkill. In addition to the First Lady, guest speakers included Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona, Congressman Pat Ryan, County Executive Bill O'Neill, SUNY Senior Vice Chancellor for Community Colleges and the Education Pipeline, Joanna Duncan Poitier, and Hope Knight, Commissioner of the Empire State Development, in addition to our own President Peter Jordan. The event also served as the unveiling of the DCC Fishkill as our new Center for Excellence for Industry and Innovation. The event was exciting, incredibly well organized, and informative. Guests were able to move from the main speaking event to tours, where they were able to chat with students, staff, and instructors in the labs. But more importantly, a huge thanks to the campus faculty and staff for making this high-profile event such a success. If you didn't see it, it was covered on News 12, various newspapers. We got a lot out of this. Peter can tell you that he got lots of phone calls afterwards from people going, "Hey, how do we take advantage of this in Dutchess? How do we help? What do we get involved in?" Then DCC hosted 28 newly naturalized citizens during the on-campus naturalized ceremony on October 6th. That was the exact same day that we had this in Fishkill too, so congratulations again to faculty for making all that happen. In late September, the admissions office hosted the initial installment of the quote, Student Operation Inform series, which is specifically designed for school counselors. 62 school counselors representing counties across the Hudson Valley region participated along with 44 SUNY college admissions representatives. Subsequent to the event, we conducted an evaluation, and 100% of the responses rated the overall program as either good or excellent. One participant left a positive comment stating, "A wonderful and highly informative program!" exclamation point. DCC consistently makes me feel valued and respected as a school counselor. Thank you. So that was a great program, obviously. In early October, 80 concurrent students from Poughkeepsie High School visited our college campus. The program featured presentations from various departments, including admissions, the library, EOP, the Writing Center, and the ACT Center. An exciting aspect of the event was an instant admissions sessions during which all senior attendees completed admissions applications, and 44 students received immediate acceptance to DCC. Congratulations on that one. John King, the new chancellor to, well, not new, our chancellor to the State University of New York System, announced that the 2023 SUNY Hispanic Leadership Institute fellow Doris Diaz-Kelly has been named the second director in residence of the SUNY Hispanic Leadership Institute. Ms. Diaz-Kelly was chosen from a pool of 59 former HLI fellows. Our IT department procured and installed an 86-inch LG Create board for the Learning Center refresh. It interacted with the demo unit at the SUNY Technology Conference earlier this year and thought it'd be a great fit for the center, and this was procured with foundation funds, so thank you again, Diana. And last, in the first month of the renewed free transportation agreement for students between DCC and Dutchess County Transit, over 2,600 trips were taken by students. The most popular route, Route H, had almost, of those, 1,050 trips. This route services the Mid-Hudson Plaza by Marist, which gives students access to a grocery store, restaurants, other shopping options. Route H also goes to the Poughkeepsie train station, and the Dutchess County Transit Hub, which allows connections to most other routes, including Route K, which services the Poughkeepsie Galleria. In other words, it's a success now that we have buses and students able to go back on at no charge. So that's the extent of my report. And if anyone aren't any other questions, and that leaves, goes forward to the president. Dr. Jordan.
Thank you, Chairman Dupree. On September 30th, I had the pleasure of joining Chancellor King, DCC faculty, staff, and students for the suicide prevention walk called Out of Darkness across the walkway over the Hudson. The weather wasn't the greatest, but it was an energetic team from DCC, and we enjoyed sharing the time with Chancellor King. Last week, the EMS paramedic program had what we thought was a successful visit because the exit interview on October 17th revealed that the visiting team felt really good about the leadership of the program, which is led by Bernadette Zakuta, and the faculty who are part of that program. They praise the leadership and faculty for their dedication and commitment to students. On last Friday, the 20th, we held a DCC reception for recent retirees from DCC. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we had 27 individuals who braved the elements and joined us for a reception. I have to tell you that I never saw a group of people walk into a space and take over the space because they were so glad to see each other. These are individuals who mostly retired during COVID, when we had to be masked and distanced and inoculated and all of those things. And a couple people told me stories about how they felt when they left on their last day, which was lonely because they turned in computers, they turned in keys and IDs, and there was no one there to bid them farewell as they walked into the sunset. So this opportunity provided them with some closure, and I am looking forward to keeping that going. Then on Saturday, I had the privilege of attending 2 events here. One was Bank Tank, which is a new program sponsored by Key Bank and a group called Seasoned Gives. And this was a sort of Shark Tank program where 10 small business owners and entrepreneurs pitched ideas for expanding their businesses, and working with Bonnie, thank you, and members of Key Bank and Seasoned Give. They had a wonderful program. They gave out a final award of $10,000, and I have to say that Maureen Gilman, who is a faculty member and program chair for hospitality and tourism, was one of the judges who participated in selecting the winner. But it was an awesome experience. Lots of energy around that program and talent as well. The second program was our aviation open house that drew nearly 300 people to HVR Airport and our program there. Those individuals, again, came out on a gray, rainy day. It tells you how much interest there is and passion for that program. But it wasn't just an open house with DCC faculty and staff and admissions and financial aid folks. We also had support from United Airlines and their Aviate program, as well as Independent Helicopter that were present that day to talk to prospective students and encourage them and so forth. The last thing I will invite you to is an event that happens this weekend. It's the second annual Fall Family Festival here on campus. Feel free to come out and join us. The time, Susan, 2 to 5, and make sure that you don a costume. Yeah.
And you might win a raffle.
Yeah. Well, I plan to win the raffle.
Saturday. Anybody have any questions of President Jordan? Besides how he's going to master it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a costume.
Yes. Are there any items for other business? I have one quickly then. I wanted to thank Tom Sipos. I was interviewed the morning that we had the DCC opening for the mechatronics. I was asked to be there at 6 a.m. I got there at 6 a.m. But I have to say that was very well arranged. I heard other people talk about that they'd heard the interviews. It was a great way for us to publicize this because I think he spent the first hour of his show on just DCC mechatronics, where we were. And I have to tell you, he pitched the biggest softball question of all. Tell me, Michael, I've always thought of DCC as being the institution where you get the best education at the lowest price. And I'm like, where's that question there? And actually said, can I hire you to be our PR person from now on? But he really was great. He covered a range of topics. He also, and I didn't know this, but Mr. Sipos came back here much older than average student and got a different degree here along the way. So he's actually an alum as well, and he's very proud of it. So for me, it was, even though it was early in the morning, it was nice to be able to sit there and just have someone go, here, blah, blah, blah. You know, great DCC, so we thank him. The date of the next meeting, as you probably all heard by now, is December 5th. There'll be no committee meetings afterwards for the month of December. We'll be going back to our normal schedule in January. And if there's no other items, make it a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. And because we won't be seeing each other in November, happy Thanksgiving in advance.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.